What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Crew 2, and well, as you all know, it is Wednesday, which means the new summit is now live, and for this week we have the Dominion Kings, which is going to be the last summit until episode 2, which is kind of crazy how fast time goes, but nonetheless, in Platinum, we have the Forsberg Racing Nissan 370Z Dominion Edition, which, if you guys are wondering, you do get to test drive this car in the summit here in one of the street races. Have to admit, I'm actually digging this vehicle so far with its handling. I cannot wait to actually get parts on it and really test it out with a good build. I feel like this car is going to be something to mess with. Then in gold we have the yellow nitro, which is pretty self-explanatory there. And then in silver we have the legendary half set, which will be for the Rallycross vehicles. And I guess you cannot go wrong with a Nitro Chemist set in general because it is just that good on every single class. If you guys might have been wondering, by the way, you can also change the affixit stats on this as well if you do not like the perks that are on the set, which I think is great. That way you can actually go after perks you might want, like Pure and Extra Pump or something like that, and or Drifty or whatever you guys might be going for with your build. But that will basically do it for the Dominion Kings Summit here, but let's jump into this right now and go over each event a little bit more. So now jumping right into the summit here, starting off with the Slalom. So for this one's going to be off-road, so I decided to jump into a hypercar, which really does not make any sense whatsoever, but luckily the hypercars can score almost the same as a rally raid vehicle, which really doesn't make any sense in that aspect either. But one of the best things about this is the fact that you could basically use any class on this and still get 155k, so it will greatly mix up the overall gameplay on this, which I do think is going to make these more fun. And then moving over to the next event is going to be a low altitude. For this one, guys, I end up using the Zivko Edge once again because I do believe this is the only plane I actually run, but you could pretty much use any plane of your choice, like the Harman Rocket 3 as well would be a great option. And for this one, I basically spawned in and then hit the objective and went straight for the road and went as fast as I possibly could. Now, do keep in mind, guys, the scores on these are going to be capped at a certain amount. So once you get like 40,000 or so, like 42,000, you really do not need to get more than that if you guys do not want to, because you'll be at 156k. So there's really no point of getting higher than that. And then moving over to the last skill here is going to be another slalom, and this one's going to be located at the Miami airport, which I would say probably a lot of players are used to this one by now. For me, I decided to jump into a hypercar. Last time I did this, I would end up using like an Alpha GP vehicle and or a touring bike, which both of those can also be great options. If you guys have a score breaker set on any of the vehicle classes, you can luckily complete any of these slaloms for the most part, which is going to make this a lot more entertaining. In ways, I'm honestly pretty happy that the Rally Raid set isn't too overpowered on the summits, and luckily it really doesn't seem like it does much of anything for that matter, so you can definitely run other vehicle classes on these and still get a really good score to compete. And now moving over to the first event is going to be a street race, which will also be on one of the Dominion Forsberg tracks, which if you guys might have been wondering, almost every single event in this summit is going to be on this as well, which I do think is going to be pretty awesome. For me, I decided to run the Lamborghini Huracán LP6104, which I haven't used this vehicle in a summit in an insanely long time. I decided to try it out over the Infinity. I gotta admit, guys, I do think the Lamborghini Huracán is going to be a wonderful option on many of the summits. This car might be a little bit slower than the 911 GT in some ways, but I really do think the Huracán is going to be a really good vehicle for summits. I highly recommend trying this vehicle out if you guys have not had a chance to use the Huracán yet. Moving over to the next event, you do get to drive the new Nissan 370Z, which personally, I do think this car is going to have a lot of potential as well. I mean, I got 3 minutes and 19 seconds on it. I was also running manual on this vehicle as well, which really wasn't all that bad, but do keep in mind, guys, you will be shifting this thing a lot because it is unupgraded. I found myself basically being in 4th gear around many of the turns and shifting into 5th, which could be kind of odd because 5th gear is normally too much around many turns, so you do have to go back into 4th and then try to power high into the RPMs to get the most power out of the turns there. So if you were to use automatic, would probably make this race a little bit easier. And then moving over to the next event is going to be with a touring car, and for this you do get to drive the Ferrari 488 GT3, which to my surprise wasn't all that bad of a vehicle. I'm not gonna lie though, I really haven't driven this Ferrari all that much, so it's pretty much new to me in this race here. I have to admit though, I think the car is going to be pretty good. I did have to lower the settings a bit to get it to turn better. It's kind of funny how if your ARBs and your settings are actually too high, the car will grip too much, making it a lot harder to drive around the turns and making it even slower, but luckily, the 488 GT3 seems to be a pretty good car overall. And then moving down to the Rallycross event here, I did end up running the Ford Fiesta once again, which I'm not going to lie, guys, this is definitely not going to be the best option for this event. Using the Cadillac or the Mitsubishi Lancer WRC5 is probably going to get you the highest score. The overall speed of the Cadillac and the Lancer are most likely going to stay unmatched for a long time, but if you guys want to try out a different vehicle, I highly recommend trying out the Ford Fiesta. This car is definitely going to be pretty dang decent. I've been basically running this on most of the summits here, and I'm not disappointed in it at all. It might be a little bit slower, but luckily this car has great handling and stability, which really makes up for that. And then moving over to the drift event, you do get to drive the Murciélago on this one, which I actually do like this Lamborghini a lot. It might not be the best overall drift car, but I'm not going to lie, guys. This drift event is actually really easy to do with this vehicle. I mean, my friend got 575,000, which was 157K. So if you guys might have been wondering, you don't need like 800,000 points on this. You could probably get around 157K with like 550,000 points or so, maybe like 520. So that's going to be pretty awesome. And luckily this track is very simple as well. I do recommend trying out my settings on my Lamborghini because I actually found this car to be really easy to use. And moving over to the final event in the summit is where you get to drive an Alpha GP vehicle in a touring car event, which is again going to be a Dominion Series race here. I personally found this one to be really fun as well, and the KTM Expo R is probably going to be the best option. If I had to guess, the leaderboards are probably going to be filled with this vehicle for good reasoning, but I might end up trying out other F1 cars like the Mark X in the future and maybe take a break from the KTM Expo R just to see how other vehicles can do against the KTM, because I do feel like this is the best vehicle in the class here. So for this race in particular, guys, one of the biggest tips I can give you for this is to be careful around the turns. Now, the main reason why I say that is with an Alpha GP vehicle, you can find yourself going really fast in a lot of areas. And, well, if you're doing that in the KTM, you could fly around the turns too much. And you can easily fly off the track or not go around the turn quick enough, and or way too fast for that matter as well. So do be a little careful. Luckily, the KTM Expo R has incredible agility, so I don't think this car is going to struggle. But some of the other F1 vehicles will most likely struggle on this track, which is kind of unfortunate. But I might end up testing out other Alpha GP vehicles in the future to see how they really do compare against the Expo R. But that will basically do it for this summit, guys. But if you have any questions at all, let me know in the comments below. Let's jump right into this summit.